Good afternoon, everyone. Great to see everyone's faces. I wanted to jump on before the main attraction and just give you a quick update. I know Coach Houston's focused on our football program right now, and rightfully so, and excited that we're actually able to start camp on time. As I've emphasized multiple times, this is a very fluid situation when it comes to fall sports and football. Most importantly, everything's going to be about the health and safety of our student athletes. We continue to test regularly, and as of today, we performed 641 COVID-19 tests with student athletes, coaches, and staff. 5 cases remain active. So 641 tests, 5 cases remain active. Every day we continue to preach the importance of wearing a mask and social distancing, and it is a point of emphasis among all of our teams. I'm sure you're aware several other conferences have made modifications to their schedule. We continue to have dialogue with the American Athletic Conference to get more clarity as to where we're going. We have lost 2 non-conference games, South Carolina and Norfolk State. The Norfolk State game we're working on to push to a later year. So we'll be making an announcement probably in the coming weeks. We're going to push that game, 3-4 years down. I've had really good conversations with Ray Tanner at South Carolina. Pretty much all summer, we've been in constant contact. And so my anticipation for that game is to move it to a later year where we would return to Columbia at some point in the future, and then they would still come to Greenville next year. So I've got no indication that that won't happen. Still in discussion about exactly when that would take place. And obviously when that game finalizes and come to fruition, we'll let everyone know. I know there are a lot of questions about if we'll add games, and there's really no answer to that right now. We're going to figure that out in due time. I want to be very mindful and deliberate of what we do. Right now on the schedule as it sits, we have 10 games. We still have Marshall non-conference. I spoke to Mike Hamrick last night at Marshall. We still are committed to playing that game. And then we also have the Georgia State game on October 3rd to comprise our 2 non-conference games. So I want to be very patient and very deliberate as we decide whether we're going to add games or not. My focus right now is on our daily protocols and making sure we keep our student athletes, coaches, and staff safe. We have not made any final decisions yet as it relates to fan attendance, but I do know that we will have a limited capacity with safety provisions in place. We will follow local state guidelines and fully understand that protocols could change from week to week. We're preparing for all different scenarios, just like every school in the country. I would let our fan base know that in the next couple weeks, we will communicate everything once we have a final determination of our plan. I continue to ask for patience and understanding. The things that are on my mind right now, more than anything, is making sure everyone, and I start with our student athletes, our coaches, our staff, our fan base, this institution, this community, this is not going to be a normal fall. This is not going to be a normal football season. We are going to have multiple inconveniences along the way. And I think the teams, schools, conferences, etc., that manage those inconveniences the best are the teams that are going to be most successful. And so I am constantly reiterating to our staff about being able to accept inconveniences and learn to work through them. That's my update in short. I'll be happy to open it up and take some questions.
John, what do you think as far as the August 29th date? I know you said there's no clear answers at this point, but for the August 29th game actually happening, do you feel like that's still a good possibility for ECU Marshall, or could it be pushed back?
Stephen, we're looking at every scenario. So when I talked to Mike Hamrick yesterday, we talked about, what does the game look like if we play it on the 29th, and then what does it look like if we push it back? And so every school is talking about what their plan is from a scheduling standpoint. I'm really comfortable with 10 games right now. And I'm not saying that we won't add a game. I just want to be very deliberate when we do that. Not many schools are looking at playing a full 12 game schedule right now because of the complexities. And so I think we'll know in the next week or so kind of what the first week or two of the season will look like. We are fortunate in that, with Marshall, they're losing the Pitt game that they have the same day we play South Carolina. So the first couple weeks of the season are flexible. In the event we make the decision, we can slide it back a couple weeks. We still are intending to play football. That hasn't changed. But as you all see what's going on across the country, we're all having to deal with positive tests, and really more important than the positive test are the contract tracing that we're all having to deal with, and all of those things are going to have an impact on the season.
John, as far as the American and any decisions they're making, what could you elaborate on kind of the last guidance you got from Commissioner Oresco in that office as far as scheduling and whether that would be a conference-only schedule?
Well, right now the plan is for a schedule is, our last discussion was we're going to continue, obviously, with our conference schedule as is, and then institutions will make a decision on what their non-conference schedule looks like, knowing that we all have the options to adjust when new information becomes available.
Piggybacking on that, John, is there what type of obstacle, or is there any sense with state to state in the league, traveling from state to state, from Texas to Florida to North Carolina? Is that a sense of concern or a problem at all?
Yeah, well, it is a concern for everyone, because there are certain states and certain institutions where they are not fully opened or are still operating under some significant restrictions. And then obviously there's some states where if you travel to those states, you could have to quarantine for periods of time, depending on the school and the location. And so that is very much a concern. And given all these factors that we're working through, I feel for East Carolina in the direction of where we are, again, I think it's premature to run out and start adding games for us, knowing that we still have two non-conference opponents in play that we're working with.
Hey, John, how hard is it when you see what's going on with baseball and that kind of thing, and trying to get all that information and just putting it all together? And what's your day like when you get to work? I mean, you guys talking to other ADs about, hey, you want to play here, you want to play there? I mean, it's got to be complicated.
Well, it is extremely complicated, and I think that college football will probably most likely mirror that of Major League Baseball. They're traveling to venues. They're not in a bubble like the NBA is. And so you're seeing more positive tests and more contact tracing. And so I do anticipate that in college football. We're going to be in residence halls. We're going to be in, institutional facilities that we're not going to be in a bubble. And so I think college football is going to more mirror Major League Baseball.
John, I wanted to ask you about the Playing Rules Committee passing the rule to allow student athletes to wear social justice patches or causes they support on their uniforms. Have you had any student athletes or coaches express interest in wanting to do that for the upcoming season?
Well, we started the racial equality task force with Kim McNeil chairing that for us, and we have some other coaches, staff, and student athletes on that. And I have a call with them on Sunday night at their regular meeting where we are going to talk about that and what type initiatives that we'll do departmentally. I want to do something that is more deliberate, where we all go with a similar message, whatever that message may be. And so I want to start with that group to help determine what that might look like. I wish that the timing is of such. We typically order things in October for the next year. Obviously, we're going to adjust and figure out what we can do from a patch standpoint to make that work.
Mr. Gilbert, I want to just go back to just the previous question where you talked about traveling and the fact that you guys weren't living in a bubble. How do you come in and express positivity? Even this morning, Dr. Fauci had said that it didn't look like there was any end in sight for this spread of the coronavirus. So how do you kind of maintain these plans going forward when you do see what happens in Major League Baseball?
Well, you were breaking up. Was there a back end?
Just when you see some of the positive tests coming out of Major League Baseball, how do you try to move forward with a positive mindset, knowing you guys are in a similar boat?
Well, the good thing is we're dealing with that now, and so our student athletes came in, early mid-June, and so we've dealt with over the course of the last 6-7 weeks, we've had to deal with it, and so there is a understanding from our coaches and student athletes what it is to deal with. Now, we haven't played a game where it's been affected a game, but it certainly has affected, workouts where we pause for a week. We are very fortunate at East Carolina. We have a tremendous medical staff. Our doctor, Dr. Joe Arman, and then our athletic training staff have been outstanding. And so they've been outside the building every morning doing the screenings. When we do have a positive, we have contact tracing. We are, I would say that compared to our peers and the protocols that, schools are doing nationally, I would say that given where we are, East Carolina is in the upper third of what we're doing from a testing and protocol standpoint. So I do feel comfortable with that, but I also understand that what the realities are, and we are going to have to deal with a potential positive, potential contact tracing, and we are, if that happens, we will shut players down, coaches, etc., and we will follow medical guidelines if that happens.
John, can you talk about maybe the range of contingencies as far as admissions are concerned? I know you're selling season tickets, and of course, students are going to want to be there if East Carolina's playing football.
So we're discussing a multitude of scenarios once we land on what the percentage of attendance is. And so as you see, there is a wide range. There are some people that think they're going to have 100% attendance, down to, people are really guessing at about 20% attendance. And so I think everything's on the table. As we look at prioritizing our attendance, if it is in fact a reduced attendance, we would look at a priority of our season ticket holders and our students, and then obviously players, families, visiting team, etc. And so we continue to talk through a multitude of scenarios of what that would look like, from a social distancing attendance standpoint.
John, to follow up with that, and I'm sure you've mentioned this before, is that sort of like scheduling at this point being left up to the institutions, or is that in collaboration with guidance from the American?
Well, it is left up to each institution, but we've also have to work with state and local health officials, whatever each state is mandating, from whatever type of venue we have. So we are going to adhere to that. One of the things that we've been working on extensively, though, is the press box and how we're going to space that out. And I'm really sorry to say that we have already selected who can attend and who cannot. And Patrick, you're one of the guys that is going to be left outside. You didn't make the cut. Now, I have a few people that we could auction off if you're willing to take their place, or maybe they join the Pirate Club and we could get you in that way.
John, you know where I work. You know I can't afford an auction.
Just kidding. We're going to try to accommodate every media member that wants to come. We really do appreciate what you all are doing and how you're doing it.
Okay, gentlemen, are there any other questions for Mr. Gilbert? Okay, John, thank you very much for joining. And I think we have Coach Houston on, so he'll jump on in just a minute with an opening statement, and then we'll go questions again.
Thanks, guys. Really appreciate you having me, and look forward to see you in person sometime soon. Go Pirates.
Thanks, John. Coach Houston, are you on, sir?
How's everybody doing?
We're doing well, Coach. If you want, you should want to open up with a statement about practice, and then we'll go to questions. Okay?
Well, practice one's in the books. It's first time that we've been on the field together since last December in a football setting. It looked like it. It looked like we've been away from Big John, our strength conditioning staff, for 4 months. I think that it probably gave all of our players and staff a greater appreciation for the tremendous job that our strength conditioning group does, throughout the year with our players. And I told the players, it's not something we didn't expect. I knew that we would not be in near the physical shape that we have been in preseasons in the past with our program. But it is where we are. It's our starting point. So, we had a practice not quite as long as we typically would on day one, but probably got just as many reps. We're having to structure practice differently because of some of the protocols that are in place. And the positive of that is a lot of guys are getting a lot of reps. I think that's good for a young football team. But I think that, day one is important. It's important, for us to get back out there and be doing what we trained to do, what the players came here to do. It's important for us to establish kind of, where we are. It's important to get some film so that now we can evaluate, we can correct, we can push to improve. And the players are very in tune with that's what needs to happen. So, you spend half of your post-practice talk now talking about make sure you wear your mask, make sure we're socially distanced when we're eating lunch. Here's how the training room is going to work with COVID policies. It's just so much stuff that we're having to do with that stuff that, it's going to be difficult to manage as far as keeping the players really dialed in to also preparing to get ready to play a game, in about a month.
Okay, we'll open it up to questions, please.
All right, Coach, what were the emotions like for you when you ran onto the field today? Because obviously, as you said, it's probably the longest you've been without a team, in your whole coaching career.
Right. I mean, it's excited. Everybody was early on the field. We had a great buzz and energy to start practice. The guys were really enthusiastic, but certainly I think this whole thing has made all of us, not that we didn't appreciate, what we do already, but just really a tremendous appreciation for the opportunities we have daily to be with these young men, to have the job that we have. I think the players, they're appreciative of having the opportunities they have. So just a lot of excitement.
Mike, we just spent some time with Jon Gilbert asking him about schedules and what ifs and teams and all that. Today, specifically, I mean, do you have to have the mindset of you're playing August 29th and your team has to be ready regardless of everything else that's going on with the uncertainty?
What I've talked to the players about after practice is, we can't worry about anything past today and tomorrow. I mean, we've got to have a very, very short focus. We've got to focus on, this afternoon and getting ready for tomorrow morning's practice and having a better practice tomorrow than what we had today. I think that's got to be where we are right now. It's just we've been through too much. There's been too much taken away. For us, I really don't care when we play. I don't care when we play, don't care where we play. We'll be ready, but we can't worry about that right now. We've really got to, more so than ever, we've got to really focus on us right now and our preparation.
Coach, a new defensive coordinator, new defense. Obviously, you didn't have spring ball, so talk a little bit about how you're going to prepare in that situation.
Well, it's you can't do anything about what was taken away. It's not fair to Coach Harrell. It's not fair to the players, but nobody cares. So, the walkthroughs have been good because they've allowed us to install the defense. But walkthroughs and then live moving bullets are two totally different things. And you add in the heat and the conditioning element, and your brain kind of goes away sometimes as a player. So we had a lot of busts. But we also did some good things. I think the players overall are very, very excited about the defense. They're excited about the diversity of it. They're excited about the aggressiveness of it. They're excited about the energy of the defensive staff. So, it's square one. That's where we are. Tomorrow's square two. Blake's an experienced coach. He's been through this a lot of times, so he'll move at the proper pace to ensure that our guys are not only getting the install in, but also, doing it right, focusing on the little things, focusing on the fundamentals, focusing on the things that win football games.
Coach, can you give us an idea of just how spread out you guys are out there between fields and kind of how you're trying to monitor all that with everybody spaced out?
Well, it's, we're practicing basically on 3 different fields. And you kind of have, multiple practices going on at the same time. It's really stretched our coaching staff extremely thin. But it's something that we have to do right now. It's a deal where we're trying to keep the guys when they're not in the either 7-on-7, 9-on-9, 11-on-11, whatever it is that we're in. We're trying to keep the guys really spaced out if they're not involved in that direct drill. So on the sidelines, everybody's spaced out. If they have their helmet off, they got their mask up. You really got it's a deal where you got to really be cautious right there. But they have to keep that mask up if they don't have their face covering on, if they don't have their helmet on. So I got to stay on them about it because we're all creatures of habit. We all revert back to, okay, it's a water break. They all swarm to the same place, even though you got water set up all over the place. We just got to keep reminding them, keep harping on them. We've got to be diligent about just, distancing, have your mask up if your helmet's off, be conscientious of, washing your hands when you come off the field, all those things.
Coach, going off along that, now that you have everybody together, in dealing with college students, what has been the coaching staff's message to the players as far as taking protocols and safety measures away from the field?
It's been a constant message, and we talked about it at length last night with the student body coming back in a matter of days. We talk about it a lot in the past for different reasons that, we have more at risk and more to lose than, the general student does. It's even more so, this year. we've got a decent control, on the virus right now, if you can call it that. What I worry about is somebody exposing themselves to somebody that has a positive and bring it back into our locker room. And when we talk about we've got to be diligent with our distancing and who we're around. And 18 to 21-year-old males, you guys think back to when you were 18 to 21 years old, okay? But there's more at risk now. So they've got to be even more disciplined and diligent with their interactions with whomever it is.
Mike,
Coach,
other conference.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Mike, other conferences like the ACC, the SEC have done away with non-conference games, but by all indications, it looks like the Marshall game is going to happen. Given the ties between the two schools, the historical significance of this being 50 years since the 1970 tragedy, do you think it's important for those reasons that game is played?
I do. Long before I was the head coach at East Carolina University, you knew about the plane crash, and then all of us have seen the movie, and certainly it's a tragic event that really led to an inspirational resurgence in their program there. And I think no one can deny the connections between the two programs. And I think it's something that we should, commemorate. We should remember. We should remember those that lost their lives. We should remember the way, Marshall pushed on. We should also remember the way that the rivalry that there was between the two schools. So I think for so many reasons, this game is an important one. And not that I'm not going to sit here and say that it's more important than our conference games, but I think it's a very important one from many standpoints.
Coach, can you provide us with the roster update? Has everyone that you expected to reported, and where do things stand in that regard?
Well, we have everyone here, with us except for Ryan Jones. He still has to complete his degree at the University of Oklahoma. And so until, all that process is out, he cannot join us. Everyone else is here with us. Everyone practiced today. We had a couple that were quarantined still, but the rest of them practiced today. So, we had, I don't know how many we had out there, but it was well over 100.
Coach, what's kind of your confidence level in the offense with all the pieces you've got returning from last year?
Well, I believe in the guys that we have coming back from last year. Today I think we had some flashes. I think we've got a long ways to go with the conditioning and getting back in sync and on the same page with each other. But we have our starting quarterback back. We have multiple skill players back. We've had some additions there. Our offensive line, we've had some additions there. So I think we have potential. But, potential's not what we're after. We're after performance. So performance is the key thing that we've got to focus on, is taking that potential and turning it into making plays on the field. Anything else? Okay, guys. I hate we got to meet like this. I wished it was in person. So maybe at some point. You guys take care. I appreciate everything you guys do to cover us too. Thanks a lot.
Thanks,
Go
Coach.
Pirates. Yep.
Thanks, Mike.